Hey, it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we share knowledge and tools to create your ultimate life and ageless. Anti aging for your brain, your body, and your future. Have you ever heard of the term sacred activism? It was coined by British author and religious scholar Andrew Harvey. The definition of sacred activism is the coming together of spirituality and activism. It's activism that comes from the heart, activism that is compassionate and kind and positive. It can be fierce, but it's not about being against anything, it's about being for something. It's embodied by the quote from Mother Teresa, who, when asked why she wouldn't attend an anti war rally, she said, "When you have a pro peace rally, I'll be there." So, secret activism is a way to channel our desire to make a difference in the world in a way that's kind and creates solutions and doesn't add to the problem. But where do we start when we feel helpless? Like nothing makes sense in our world anymore? Sacred activism is having a passion for justice, but not just talking to our friends about how bad things are, but taking action, doing something, or as they say, putting your money where your mouth is. When we do that, we not only help the cause, but we experience a rebirth in our own souls. When we feel like we really made a difference in the world instead of just talking about making a difference, when we put our heads down on our pillow for our final breath, we will have peace knowing that we lived a life worth living. And many people are waking up to the fact that injustice, racism, religious, cultural, or lifestyle intolerance, climate change that's taking lives daily, or inhumane immigration policies, or blatant lying to undermine democracy are not just going to go away if we complain to our friends enough or shout at the TV loudly. What gives me hope right now is that so many people are waking up and wanting to make a difference, and there's strength in numbers. And we are all in this ship together. And if it goes down, we're all going down. But if we do our part and we lift it up, we'll all be lifted. Remember the words of cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." So, would you like to be a part of that small group making a difference, changing the world? If your answer is yes, which I bet it is, what I recommend is simply do something every day. Stop talking and start doing. Stop being depressed and scared about what's going on and say to yourself, snap out of it. Wake up. The world needs you. The world needs your contribution. Do something. You have to start somewhere other than cringing at the news and feeling helpless and talking to your friends about how horrible things are and how helpless you feel. The great teacher Byron Katie once said, "There is no access to transformation inside that kind of conversation." So, how about finding a way to use your God given talents? Maybe you can, well, do you love children? Volunteer. Volunteer at an after school program where you can help kids with their homework. There are children whose parents have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table. These kids need you. I'll share a story, not so that you think I'm some kind of Mother Teresa, but years ago, we had a young man living with us, and my kids and I were helping him study for his constitution test. Remember, this is 8th grade. These are 14-year-olds. And he starts to tear up. So I apologized. I asked him if we were pushing him too hard, and he said, "No, I'm just so happy." And I said, "What are you so happy about?" And he said, "This is the first time anyone has ever helped me with my homework." 14, first time. You know how many kids there are like him out there? Are you a visual artist? Find a way to help kids who are survivors of abuse express their emotions through art. Do you feel the agony when you hear about, for example, a young man of color being incarcerated for years for being falsely accused of stealing a backpack? become a big brother or sister and form a relationship with one of these kids and be their advocate when there's no one else to advocate for them, so that tragedies like what happened to Caleb Broders, who was falsely accused of stealing a backpack, never has to happen again. Look him up. If he had someone like you to advocate for him, he'd be alive today. Or volunteer to take kids to the zoo or the planetarium or an amusement park, or teach them yoga or breath work. Or my cousin Marcia in Berkeley taught kids how to express themselves through theater and improv. Whatever's your passion, use it for good. Do you care about the planet? You can also engage in sacred activism by just stopping excessive consumption, make a smaller footprint, ride a bike. You know, something I did, it was 2015. And what I did for the entire year, I started on January 1st. Every time I had the impulse to purchase something that I really didn't need, like yet another cute shirt or a $5 cup of fancy coffee, I stopped and I put the money instead into a fund. And at the end of the year, I donated over $3,000 to charity. And I did not miss even one of those things I didn't buy. Are you feeling the pain of the conflict in Israel and Gaza? I'm part of a prayer, intentioning, and chanting group that meets every single night. I also meet with Lynn McTaggart, who has had measurable results in lessening conflicts in war-torn areas over the last 15 years by gathering large groups of people and intending for peace, called the Intention Experiment. And there are many nonprofits that are nonpartisan, Doctors Without Borders. CNN has a fund where they carefully vet organizations that help victims on both sides of the conflict. And as you've heard me say before, but I'll say it again, when you take action, you not only help the people, you also feel so good about yourself. You feel happier. That isn't why you do good deeds, but there's nothing that will pull you out of depression and hopelessness that many are feeling right now than contribution. In the Torah, which contains the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, it said that the most powerful prayers are the prayers we pray for others. When you contribute, it's been scientifically proven that it increases your oxytocin, which is a feel-good hormone. You volunteer, you do a random act of kindness, you join a prayer circle, you bring hot meals to people living in tents in the middle of winter in your city, or even donate to a charity online. It makes you happier. It increases your self-love. In fact, there was a study done at the National Institutes of Health that showed that not only did doing charitable acts or random acts of kindness increase people's oxytocin, but it decreased their cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And lowering your cortisol has been scientifically linked to not only reducing symptoms of stress and depression, but to better sleep, decrease heart disease, so much more. And when you feel good about yourself, that joy radiates. We're vibrational beings, so attitudes are contagious. The joy, that joy, it makes your attitude worth catching, and you inspire others. And then they in turn inspire others, and then the ripple effect is unending. And I know some of you are wanting to do something really big, like go down in history like Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Susan B. Anthony. I love Susan B. Anthony. Do you know the whole story about her? It's incredible. She was born in 1820 into a family of Quakers, although she left the Quaker church because of the restrictive lifestyle. Then when she was only 17 years old, she began collecting anti-slavery petitions. And then at the age of 28, she started to organize around equal pay for equal work. I mean, we're talking 1848, equal pay for equal work for women, like almost 200 years ago. So, and from there, she devoted her entire life to more sacred activism. In 1872, she was arrested for voting, because remember, women couldn't vote, and convicted at trial, and she refused to pay the fine nonviolently, and she stayed in jail. And then in 1878, a senator from California presented an amendment giving women the right to vote known as the Susan B. Anthony Amendment. Now you got to get a load of this. That was 1878, but it wasn't ratified for another 42 years in 1920. 14 years after her death, it became the 19th Amendment. I mean, I know we'd like to do something really impactful, be a Rosa Parks or a Malala, but not everybody was born to go down in the history books, but it doesn't matter. In the Talmud, which is the central text in Judaism, it says, whoever destroys a single life is considered to have destroyed the whole world, and whoever saves a single life is considered to have saved the whole world. So start with a single life. But one thing you can't do if you want to go down in the history books is sit and watch TV all day and drink Diet Coke. You can't play it safe. My favorite Susan Anthony quote, I have it over here for you. It's my favorite. Cautious, careful people, always casting about to preserve their reputation and social standing, can never bring about reform. Those who are really in earnest must be willing to be anything or nothing in the world's estimation, and publicly and privately, in season and out, avow their sympathy with despised and persecuted ideas and their advocates and bear the consequences. So, sacred activism, that activism that comes from the heart, activism that is compassionate, kind, and positive, activism that's not about being against something, but being for something, but activism, not passivism, okay? So that's what we want to do if we really want to contribute to the world. So what are you going to do today? Let us know in the chat below. Let's give each other ideas. So thank you in advance for your contribution to the planet, and have an amazing week. Bye for now.